Today we are undertaking a bit of cinematic archaeology, you could say.
Yeah.
We're not just watching an old film. We're digging deep into what might be the actual blueprint for modern European movie making.
That's quite a claim, isn't it?
It really is. We're going back to 1913, a single film that, well, according to our sources, pretty much created the DNA for German cinema in the 1920s.
And that source material we're using today, it's excerpts from Cinema, the Magic Vehicle. It's this guide covering films from 1913 all the way to 81.
A huge span.
Huge. Drama, comedy, sci-fi, noir. It really promises a journey through some essential cinema.
I like that promise, the idea that it's not just reviews, but context.
Yeah.
You know, how politics, society, culture actually shaped what ended up on screen.
Exactly. And our mission really is to figure out why this book highlights the Student of Prague from 1913 as being more than simple amusement.
Right.
And crucially, why it marks the true beginning of creative German cinema, which is, well, a very bold claim.
Especially since it was only, 17 years after the Lumieres basically invented cinema in Paris.
Just 17 years. It seems incredibly fast.
Lightning fast, yeah. For an art form to go from just novelty, moving pictures, to something people are calling real art. So why this film? What makes The Student of Prague the launchpad?
Well, the source material doesn't mince words. It calls this film the first true masterpiece. One of the very first that was, quote, definitely something more than simple amusement.
Okay.
And it says it directly foreshadows the great German silent era, Expressionism in the next decade.
So no Metropolis, no Nosferatu without this.
That's the argument. This film laid the groundwork. It's the seed.
Wow. Okay. So let's get into the story then, because it sounds like it's drawing on some pretty dark classic literary stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The setting is 1820, and the story itself, it's like a mashup of classic European Gothic.
Right.
You've got the Faust legend, the deal with the devil, but seen through this really sinister psychological lens. Think E.T.A. Hoffmann or Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay, that sets mood.
Definitely. They even mention a poem by Alfred de Musset, so it's grounding itself in that dark intellectual tradition right away.
So we have our hero, Baldwin. Poor student wants the aristocratic lady he can't have, the usual setup. Then comes the deal, right?
The deal.
Yeah.
Enter the wicked sorcerer, Scapinelli, played by John Gethout. Scapinelli sees Baldwin's desperation and makes the classic offer. 100,000 guldens, life-changing money.
In exchange for?
In exchange for, and this is key, whatever Scapinelli requests from Baldwin's room. That classic, vague, demonic contract.
Always read the fine print. Or in this case, the lack of it.
Yeah.
And the price isn't his soul then. Not exactly.
No, and that's the twist that really makes it interesting. It's not some physical object from the room either. Scapinelli demands Baldwin's mirror image.
His reflection.
His reflection, and then he brings it to life, creates a physical thinking double of the student.
Okay, that is genuinely unsettling. A double walking around, living his life.
Played by Paul Wegener, the same actor playing Baldwin. So he's sharing his life, his face, his desires with this perfect twin.
Who he didn't ask for.
Exactly. And it leads, well, predictably, to ruin. The double commits crimes, drives Baldwin into this psychological spiral.
And the ending.
The ending is maybe one of the most iconic images in early film. Baldwin tries to get rid of this shadow self. He pulls out a gun, aims at the mirror image. But the bullet goes through the mirror, hits his own heart, kills him.
Wow. Talk about a metaphor for self-destruction.
It's powerful. And like the source says, it's more than just a horror story plot. The real power is thematic. It captures, maybe for the first time on screen this clearly, the dualism of human nature.
An internal conflict.
Yeah.
Good versus evil in one person.
Right. Baldwin and his double aren't just hero and villain. They're the inner struggle made external. Ambition, desire, good intentions, and destructive impulses all wrapped up.
And this theme, the double, the fractured self.
Yeah.
Why do you think that resonated so strongly in German cinema right after this, in the 1920s?
Well, think about Germany in the 1920s. Post-World War I, trauma, economic chaos, political instability.
Yeah, a lot of national anxiety.
Exactly. So there was this intense cultural preoccupation with fragmented identity, with trauma, with guilt. The double became this perfect visual shorthand for all that internal chaos. It made angst visible.
Making a feeling into a character.
Precisely. And the source points out how common this became. Think of Fritz Lang's films later on. He mastered making psychological states visible. The Student of Prague basically gave them the template.
Okay, let's talk about the acting.
Yeah.
Because the source makes another big claim here. First film where the main character's personality is shown with naturalness and conviction. How do you even do that in a silent film in 1913?
That really comes down to Paul Wegener.
The actor playing Balduin in The Double.
Yes. He was already a huge star on the stage. From Max Reinhardt's famous theater in Berlin, before him, a lot of film acting was, well, very broad.
Pantomime.
Over-the-top gestures.
Right. Wegener brought stage subtlety to the screen. He found ways to convey internal thought, dread, conflict, without just wild gesturing.
So nuance, quiet physical acting. Exactly. Our source says he subtly unlocks the recesses of Balduin's character. He helped create that disturbing atmosphere through performance, not just plot. It was a real shift moving towards psychological depth.
It sounds like the director, Stellan Rye, must have known how to use that talent, how to blend theater and this new film technique.
Rye was clearly skilled. He showed real cinematic flair, especially in that scene where the mirror image literally steps out of the mirror. That's quite an effect for 1913.
Where did you get that skill?
He likely picked it up in Copenhagen theaters and maybe borrowed techniques from Danish cinema. Denmark was actually leading Europe in film technique back then.
So it's this mix: German Gothic themes, Danish directing style, Berlin stage acting.
A real melting pot. An international artistic moment, yeah.
Which makes the footnote even sadder.
Yeah, the tragic part. Stellan Rye died very soon after the film came out. A military training accident on the Western Front.
Just awful.
Yeah.
Right when cinema is really starting to find its artistic voice.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If he'd lived, how might German cinema have developed? We only got this glimpse.
Now, the book is critical, too. It mentions the film isn't perfect. Even masterpieces have flaws, especially early ones.
Right.
It says the disturbing mood wasn't always sustained because of, well, cinematic imperfections. What was the example?
It's actually kind of funny, in a way. There's a scene where the Countess is supposedly drowning and Balduin rushes to save her.
Okay.
But the source calls it a romp in the improbably shallow pond.
Ah, so they're splashing around dramatically, but the water's only up to their ankles.
Something like that. It's a moment where the technical execution just couldn't match the dramatic intent. A reminder that filmmaking was still figuring things out.
Very much trial and error.
Absolutely. But that technical stumble almost makes the other technical achievement stand out more, which is the cinematography.
Right, the visuals. This is where we really see the connection to Expressionism, isn't it?
This is the direct link. The Student of Prague is supposedly one of the first films where the photography has a genuine artistic purpose.
And that's down to the cameraman.
Guido Seeber, a veteran German cameraman. His work here was groundbreaking because he wasn't just recording action, he was using the camera to create mood and emotion.
How did he do that? With the lighting?
Partly, yeah. Look at the outdoor scenes first. He uses the actual Prague landscapes, the hills, the castles, that famous Jewish cemetery, not just as backdrops, but as atmospheric elements. They feel like part of the drama.
Okay.
But the real signature style, the one the Expressionists absolutely ran with, was in the interior scenes.
That's the light and shadow thing.
Exactly. Seeber used what the source calls a pattern of deep, low-key contrasts of light and shadow. In really dark blacks, stark, bright whites, not much in between.
Chiaroscuro, basically. Painting with light.
Yes, like painting with shadow, almost. It was a style known in Danish film, and critics at the time even compared his images to Dürer engravings. Very moody, very stark.
And that wasn't just for show. It connected to the theme.
Absolutely. Those high contrast shadows visually amplified the theme of dualism. Balduin's inner conflict is literally playing out in the light and shadow on the walls around him.
So this film didn't just inspire Expressionism.
It basically handed Expressionism its visual style guide.
Wow.
It's a direct line. The German Expressionists of the 1920s took Seeber's high contrast, psychologically charged lighting and made it the hallmark of their movement. Films like Caligari owe their look directly to Seeber's work here in 1913.
That really is incredible. A film based on Faust and Poe, using top theater actors, ends up creating the visual language for the next decade of German art cinema. It really brings that idea from cinema, the magic vehicle, full circle.
So if we boil it down for you, The Student of Prague managed to fuse high art themes and acting with genuinely innovative film technique. It explored human dualism in a complex way, showcased Wegener's subtle performance, and used Seeber's groundbreaking cinematography to create mood. It really proved cinema could be art.
And set the stage for an amazing decade of creativity. Okay, let's go back to that little flaw, though, the improbably shallow pond.
Right, the technical hiccup alongside the artistic brilliance.
It raises a question, something maybe for you listening to think about. How could a film be so revolutionary thematically and visually, defining a whole movement's look, yet still have these almost clumsy technical errors.
Yeah, what does that contrast tell us about filmmaking in 1913?
It seems like the artistic vision, the ideas about psychology and mood, were maybe leaping ahead of the practical ability to execute everything perfectly on set.
I think that's right. They had the big ideas, the artistic ambition was there, but the technical craft, the production polish, was still catching up. It was still a bit Wild West.
A fascinating reminder that even the most foundational works are often built during a time of messy, rapid change. Thank you for digging deep with us today.